name is Doug Heffley, Director of Safety, Risk, and Emergency Management at Eastern Municipal Water District, and I welcome you to the American Association of Water Distribution and Management's Thought Leadership Lab Video Module Series. In our last visit together, Gordy covered the 10 families of risk. Regardless of what you do in water district operations, everything you do can be put into one of these 10 families. The Take Back to Work assignment was to establish a process where you and your staff regularly assess the real risks you face in each of these 10 families and assure that you have appropriate control measures in place to address these identified risks. In this video titled 5 Concurrent Themes for Success, Gordy will introduce you to a checklist for success. If the ultimate goal is getting things done right, here is a 5-step checklist to achieve the goal. AAWD&M video modules are available to all public water systems, related entities, and supporting stakeholders. Utilization of any aspect of video without the express written permission of AAWD&M is strictly prohibited. As with any presentation, the opinions associated with the subject matter are those of the speaker and not AAWD&M, its members, or supporters. Thank you.
Gordon Graham here, and thanks again for taking the time to watch these videos. This is number 3. We first talked about, our first video was what real risk management's all about. Our second video was on the 10 families of risk. And this time, as I mentioned at the end of the last video, I want to introduce you to a checklist that I've been working on for 35 years. Now, on my recommended rating list is a great book called Checklist Manifesto by Dr. Atul Gawande, common spelling. The value of checklists. Simply stated, I love checklists. Maybe I lucked out here today. In the viewing audience, I guarantee you I've got an aviator. In the world of aviation, are checklists a big deal or a little deal? Simply stated, you show me an aviator that doesn't take checklists seriously, I'm showing you the name on a headstone. Doctors should be big fans of checklists. Doctors should be big fans of checklists. In my first videotape, I talked about medical malpractice and how many people are dying from medical malpractice. Several thousand every year are killed because doctors leave things in them after surgery. That could all be obviated with a checklist. Doctor, I'm giving you a chainsaw. Before we sew this person back up, I will need the chainsaw back so I can check it off. Obviously, I'm talking tongue-in-cheek, but if you put 20 sponges in a patient to control bleeding during surgery, how many do you need to get out? 20. One sponge, even in a hospital setting, can be a death sentence. I love checklists. So, on your screen is a checklist. If the ultimate goal, bottom of the screen, is let's get things done right, here is a 5-step checklist. Risk, systems, service, accountability, and integrity. And as you probably surmised, we're going to take these one at a time. The first step on the checklist, whatever you're doing, whatever you're thinking about doing, whatever your people are doing, whatever they're thinking about doing, the first question you've got to ask is, what's the risk involved in what am I doing, and how can I best manage that risk? Can I eliminate the risk? Can I avoid the risk? Can I share the risk? Can I transfer the risk? Well, Gordy, you can't eliminate risk. I have. You'll never read this. Gordon Graham dies in skydiving accident. I've eliminated that risk. You'll never read this. Gordon Graham dies in hot air balloon tragedy. I've eliminated that risk. You'll never read this. Gordon Graham dies jogging. You only have so many heartbeats. Do not be wasting them on jogging. Jogging is stupid. And before you send me your hate mail, because you don't understand things, at least talk to a couple orthopedic surgeons. Talk to the people who replace knees and hips and ask them what they think about jogging. Oh, heart surgeons love it. Knee surgeons, hip surgeons, whatever your body weight is, multiply it by 2, 2.5, 3, and that's the pounding your knees and hips are taking. Fast walking with weights is much less violent on the hips and the knees and gives a much better full body workout. The first question you got to ask is, can I eliminate the risk? Why are we doing this? Maybe we shouldn't be doing it. Can I transfer the risk? The HR stuff I talked about earlier. All of these are forms of risk management. The first question you have to ask, whatever you're doing, whatever you're thinking about doing, is what's the risk and how can I best manage it? And how do you manage risk? You manage risk through the second of the steps on the checklist, what I call my 5 concurrent themes for success. You manage risk through theme 2, systems. You manage risk through systems. What's a system? Webster defines a system as a process, a procedure, a process, a structured approach to doing things. I love systems. Please recall, video 1, long before I ever went to law school, I did my graduate work at the ISSM, the Institute of Safety and Systems Management. I love systems. I love process. I love procedure. I love structured approaches to doing things, so long as they meet the DUI rule. Driving under the influence? Nope. Design, update, implementation. Blanket statement. You show me an organization that makes a commitment to systems, and I will show you an organization that avoids tragedy. On the other hand, you show me an organization that ignores the value of systems, where they're not properly designed, they're not kept up to date, they're not being implemented, and I will show you an organization either in trouble or en route to trouble. Again, I've never done your job in water district operations, but I sure have studied your tragedies, and this is an important component for you. You've got to go back and make sure you understand the value of the second of these 5 concurrent themes for success, the value of systems. Again, I love them. Organizations that take them seriously stay out of trouble. I think I mentioned to you earlier that trucking is filled with risk. Some data, last year, 87 firefighters died around America, 133 cops died around America, 500 truck drivers died. Of the 500, how many work for UPS? None. UPS is not killing their drivers because they have made a commitment to systems, a commitment. You'll never see the systems they have in their big rig operations. I've seen them. They're very impressive. Design, update, implementation. You'll never see the systems they have in their feeder operations. DHL's got feeders. FedEx has got feeders. Those where the packages go in and get sorted. Compare the lost time injury rate, FedEx, DHL, UPS. UPS is lower. Why? They've made a commitment to systems. What you will see is that little brown truck pull it up in front of your building. And the next time the little brown truck pulls up in front of your building, the UPS package car, that's what they call it because it delivers packages. The next time it pulls up, why don't you go to the window? Why don't you bring your crew to the window and bring a stopwatch and watch that UPS driver get off the truck? Seriously. The second she hits the handbrake, boom, hits your stopwatch. She's got 14.5 seconds to do 10 things. Did you know that? She's got 14.5 seconds to set the parking brake, remove seatbelt, with right hand remove keys from ignition, rotate keys, open secure cargo door, find package for that location, re-secure cargo door, exit vehicle. Her foot has got to hit the ground in 14.5 seconds. Gordy, why the half second? When you've got 300 stops a day and several thousand trucks, that half second's a big deal. By the way, when she's getting off the vehicle, watch her feet. If she's carrying the load in her right hand, she'll be leading off the truck with her left foot. If she's carrying the load in her left hand, she'll be leading off the truck with the right foot. There's a reason why, a human factors reason why you lead with the opposite foot when you're carrying a load. Watch her lay down your package. You're not going to see any back action. It's leg action. She's running back to the truck now. Watch her left foot. I make so much money off lawyers in downtown Los Angeles with this one piece of information. For almost 40 years, I've been going to lunch with lawyers. Hey, Tommy, Gordy, what's up? Take a look at that UPS driver running back to the truck. I bet you her left foot hits the bottom step first. I bet you her left foot, I bet you lunch, her left foot hits the bottom step first. And up goes the left foot. Gordy, you lucked out again. 40 years in a row. I'm on a streak. Left, right, left, sit, start. When you're getting on the truck 400 times a day, you need a process on how to do it. Watch how quickly she gets the seatbelt on when she gets behind the wheel of that truck. If you're a UPS driver and you get caught without the seatbelt on, that's a very big deal. Watch how she does the 360 circle check on the vehicle before she backs it up. And for anybody who might be watching this tape who drives a company vehicle, watch how she does the 360 circle check before she backs the vehicle up. And for anybody who's watching this, who's like driving a vehicle for your water district, watch how she walks around the vehicle before she backs it up. Gordon, are you trying to tell me something? Oh, how I'd love to study your accumulated data. Gordy, that's true. In our water district, vehicles are involved in one traffic accident for every 137,000 miles we drive forwards, and one traffic collision for every 15 feet we back up. We keep on backing into things. Why? It's all systems, folks. I love them so long as they're properly designed, kept up to date, and fully implemented. Now, I worry about the design of your systems. I worry that they're not up to date. But I'm going to assume that you take all the stuff that AAWD&M is sending you and you're taking it seriously. I am going to suppose right now that you have well-designed systems that are kept up to date. It's not good enough, folks. The California Highway Patrol has a brilliant pursuit policy. It's brilliant. How do I know that? I wrote it. It's brilliant. It's properly designed. It's up to date. Then why does the CHP keep on getting in trouble in pursuits? Because people don't follow rules. I see organizations that have got brilliant sexual harassment policies. I wrote their harassment policy. It's brilliant. It's properly designed. It's up to date. Then why have they paid out so many millions of dollars in harassment claims settled and verdicts? Because people don't follow systems. And why don't people follow systems? Take a look at your screen. 3 words: arrogance, ignorance, and complacency. Arrogance. Rules do not apply to me. Ignorance. I had no idea we had a rule on that. Complacency. We've been doing it this way for years. We haven't had a problem yet. We've been doing it this way forever, and we haven't had a problem yet. You know what? You can be arrogant, ignorant, and complacent and slug through a day at Dunkin' Donuts. And you can be arrogant, ignorant, and complacent and slug through a day at Panera Bread. In the high-risk world that you live in water district operations, if you have arrogant, ignorant, or complacent people working around you, that is a problem lying in wait. So with that in mind, let me ask you a question. Does Bud work for you? Does Bud work for you? Gordon, who's Bud? Bud is the employee who is absolutely convinced that rules do not apply to me. I am Bud. I am Bud. I am the personification of arrogance, ignorance, and complacency. I'm Bud. And not to be accused of being a sexist, are there Budettes in our little world also? Rules do not apply to me. Bud is a problem lying in wait. Well, Gordon, I find this offensive. There's 40,000 names in the name book. Why'd you single out Bud? ZAR 52. CZAR 52. Tonight when you get home, you know what? You can even make it work-related. Visit any search engine. Go to Bing, go to Yahoo, go to Google, go to YouTube, and type in ZAR 52. CZAR 52, the story of a terrible B-52 crash in 1994 in Washington State. And if you go to YouTube, you'll get a lot of different hits on that. Hit any one of them, they're all the same. First thing you'll see on your screen is a date, June 24, 1994. Second thing you'll see on your screen is a location, Fairchild Air Force Base, Washington State. And the third thing you'll see on your screen is this beautiful B-52 making lazy circles around Fairchild Air Force Base, getting ready for an air show the next day. And depending on which video clip you watch, shortly into the clip, that beautiful B-52 slides out of the sky into the ground, blows up, kills everybody on board. And who was flying the plane that day? Bud Holland. Lieutenant Colonel Bud Holland. So you lose four airmen. You lose a $100 million warplane. That's a tragedy. So the Air Force investigated the tragedy. Part of their investigation protocol is they talk to every pilot on the base after the crash. And every pilot on the base after the crash said the same thing. It was not a matter of if. It was a matter of when, where, and how many people were going to die. This guy had a long history of reckless behavior. He was a rogue pilot. On my recommended reading list, a great book by Dr. Tony Kern. And by the way, Tony Kern, one of the smartest people I know, B-1 pilot by trade, picked up his doctorate on the side. This guy is smart. His great book, Darker Shades of Blue, where he studies tragedies in the Air Force, and he focuses throughout the book on Tsar 52. This guy had a long history of reckless behavior. Everybody knew he was a rogue pilot, that the rules did not apply to him. And you can read the specifics. Go back to 1993, what he did at the air show in 1993, what he did at the air show in 1992, what he did at the air show in 1991, what he did in 1990, bombing practice over Guam. Everybody knew he was a rogue pilot, a reckless aviator, and nobody did a darn thing about it until after the tragedy occurred. By the way, I just put a new book on my recommended reading list, Warnings Unheeded by Dan Brown. And I bought that book because it was about Tsar 52. And indeed it was. But I also learned something else. 5 days prior to the B-52 crash, June 19th, 1994, a crazy airman went into the base hospital, same air base, Fairchild, Washington State. A crazy airman went in there with an automatic rifle, shot the place up, and killed a whole bunch of people. And what do we learn after the fact? Every psychiatrist in the Air Force was telling Air Force management, the guy's nuts. He's a problem lying in wait. He's going to end up killing people. And they ignored these warnings. The warnings were unheeded. So with that in mind, I got a question for you. GM, AGM, department head, does Bud work for you? Does Bud work for you? Well, Gordon, how could I possibly identify Bud? Well, go back before you were the GM. Go back to when you got hired and you were a line employee yourself and you were on probation and you had 6 months on the job and you looked at your coworkers back then. When you were brand new with 6 months on the job and you looked at your coworkers, did you know who Bud was then? Did you know who the arrogant, ignorant, and complacent were then? Yes, you did. Now you're in charge. What, are you stupid all of a sudden? Nope. You know who Bud is. It's a matter of will, folks. And here I go again. If you take Bud on, you get paid X. If you ignore Bud, you get paid X. So why take him on? Because that's your job. That is your job as a supervisor, manager, or executive, identifying the buds and addressing buds proactively. Bud is a problem lying in wait. And remember that if you ignore Bud, other people watch that, and that deviation from the norm will become the norm with other people. Well, Bud did it. Why can't I? You've got to address the buds. And once again, the budettes in the workplace, they are a problem lying in wait. How do you manage risk? The first of these 5 concurrent themes for success, you manage risk through systems. The second of the 5 concurrent themes for success. The third of these 5 concurrent themes is not my topic today, but I've got to tell you about this. I cannot have this many people watching the video all around America without talking about theme 3, the importance of customer service. Customer service. I'll give you a blanket statement, Americans are fed up with a lack of customer service. Well, Gordon, You make these blanket statements. Do you have any data to suggest what you're saying is true? Well, I can't see you, but you can see me. How about if I ask this question right now to the group that's watching this videotape, assuming there's a group of you watching this video production. How many of you, and be honest, how many of you have stopped doing business with a company because they angered you just once? Just once, be honest. Take a look around the room. My guess is almost every hand is going up. Let me ask you a second question. How many of you kept your anger secret? And my guess is very few hands are going up, few if any. You were so angry that you said, not only am I going to shop there, not going to shop there anymore, not only am I not going to do business with them anymore, I'm going to tell people, don't do business with them. Successful companies have figured this out. If you make enough people angry, you're going to lose market share. On the other hand, if we want to get more market share, if we want to get more customers, maybe if we made people really happy, we would get more business. And throughout history, successful private sector organizations, they have made tons of money based on customer service. You got nothing to do tonight? Type in customer service into any search engine, and in the first 20 hits, you're going to see reference to Nordstrom, the department store. Nordstrom. You didn't type in department store customer service. You typed in customer service, and up pops Nordstrom. Why? They've got a phenomenal reputation for great customer service. Well, Gordon, they also make excellent clothes. No, they don't. They don't make any clothes. They buy clothes from a clothing manufacturer, and they sew a Nordstrom label in them. Men's suits at Nordstrom, $1,500. You can buy the same suit at Sears for $149.95, and they'll throw in a set of Craftsman tools. How does Nordstrom stay in business? Service, 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 service. Go down to Sears tonight and buy the suit. 23 long, 23 short, 23 regular. So why are you buying a suit, my friend? Oh, my sister's getting married on Saturday. My wife suggests that I get a new suit for the wedding. That could be problematic, my friend. Suits purchased today have an alteration turnaround date 4 months from now. But I need it by Saturday. Well, we'll put a rush on it. We'll make it 3 months from now. That doesn't do you any good. Go to Nordstrom tonight, buy the suit. They'll alter it for you while you wait. And if you can't wait, they'll drive it to your house tomorrow morning. They'll call you the next morning. Does everything fit? They'll call you on the morning of the wedding. Have a good time. Go to the wedding. Get drunk at the wedding. Get in a fight with your new brother-in-law. Get the suit ripped. Go out and eat some of the shrimp that's been sitting out in the sun for the last 5 hours. Wash it down with some MGDs. Throw up all over the suit. Big chunks of shrimp. Take it back to Nordstrom on Monday. Will they take it back? Yep, I do that once a week. Just kidding. Nordstrom has figured it out. The value of customer service. Starbucks has figured it out. People are paying $5 for a cup of hot water. It's the value of customer service. Lexus has figured it out. How can I break this to you gently? It's a Toyota. Deliver with a high level of customer service. Service is absolutely essential. And there are 3 core components to creating loyal customers. I don't want satisfied customers. I want loyal customers. People who will not only continue to do business with you, but who will tell people how good you are. 3 core ingredients. Take a look at the screen. Technical competence, knowing how to do your job, dignity and respect, and whenever you can, give them some wow. Give them some wow. Well, Gordon, what's wow stand for? It stands for wow. What can we do to get this person to say, wow, I never dreamed I would be treated like this? The third of my 5 concurrent themes. Theme 1, risk management. Theme 2, you manage risk through systems. Theme 3, the importance of customer service. Technical competence, dignity and respect, and wherever you can, create some wow. The fourth of these 5 concurrent themes for success is the dying word known as accountability. And I say dying word because wherever I go around this great country and talk to people in depth about issues, well, Gordon, that's the problem. The entire organization has lacked accountability. You know, nobody has ever heard her accountable. He doesn't understand what accountability is. Everybody is talking about accountability and the lack thereof. How do you get accountability in an organization? That will be our topic in our next portion of this 3rd video series. And I'll see you in just a few minutes. Well, hello again and welcome back. Now, where are we? Remember, this is a 9-video series. We are on video 3, part 2. My checklist I've been working on now for 30-something years called the 5 concurrent themes for success. Theme 1, whatever you're doing, whatever you're thinking about doing, what's the risk? How can I best manage it? Theme 2, you manage risk through systems, processes, procedures, and I challenged you, are they properly designed, are they up to date, and are they being implemented? Just one quick thought on that as I reviewed my notes from the last time. When you get back to work after this program, do a keyword search on your policy manual, if you have it electronically, for the word shall. The word shall. Whenever I'm asked to audit an organization, one of the first things I do is I take a look at their electronic policy manual and look for the word shall. I have no problem with you using the word shall in a policy, so long as that's the word you want to use. Perhaps you'd be better off with should, can, may, give them some discretion, but if you want to say shall, then go say shall. Here's the problem I have. Shall. If anything ever ends up downstream in court, you have taken all discretion away from the involved employee. And again, I don't have a problem with that if that's what you really want to say. I recently had a case in my law office for a pretty substantial fire department where they had a policy that says, under no circumstances shall any fire department vehicle be driven in excess of 55 miles an hour. So this policy's in place for 20 years. 20 years. 20 years after they come in with a policy, we have a battalion chief in a Chevy Suburban going to a training day. It's a 75 zone. He's running 70, and he gets in a wreck. Is he in violation of the policy? He's in violation. Do not overuse the word shall. But back to where I want it to be. My guess is you have well-designed systems that are up to date. I worry about the implementation, and again, the importance of addressing bud proactively. The third of these 5 concurrent themes, the importance of customer service, creating loyal customers, technical competence, dignity and respect, and wherever you can, create some wow. I left off with theme 4, the dying word known as accountability. Every place I go, people are saying, that's the problem. There's a lack of accountability. There's a lot of books out there complaining about the lack of accountability. So how do you get accountability in an organization? How do you get accountability? I can make it very simple for you. Accountability starts in your water district when everybody in the water district understands their role with respect to systems. I'll say it again, folks. It's so simple. If you want accountability, it starts when everybody in the organization understands their role with respect to systems. For the executives, the GM, the AGM, your accountability is building good systems, good policies, and keeping them up to date. For the executives, your accountability continues in having a robust audit process in place to make sure what you say you're doing is in fact being done. And again, drilling down just a little bit, in too many organizations, audits are what I call lip service audits. We've got all sorts of pieces of paper saying everything's wonderful, when in reality, there are significant problems lying in wait. Do you have a formal audit process? My guess is you do, particularly large agencies. But don't forget the value of the informal audit process. MBWA, management by wandering around. Take a look at what your people are doing. Walk around and take a look, and very quickly you'll learn most people are doing most things right. On those rare occasions when people aren't following policy, it gets addressed through the discipline process, and again, I've already mentioned that. Executive accountability continues after you do your audits in promoting women and men into the ranks of supervision and management who've got the guts to be supervisors. And I've already talked about this, and we're dedicating one entire video to this entire process, the key role of the supervisor. Again, I'm teasing you. Take a look at the graphic in front of you. Show me a tragedy in a water district. I'll show you approximate cause of X. The real problem lying in wait all too often is a supervisor not behaving like a supervisor. Or in the alternative, a supervisor who tried to behave like a supervisor and got no support from management. Our last video of this 9-video series will deal with the issue, our second to last video, my mistake. Our second to last video of this 9-video series is going to be on job-based harassment. Job-based harassment. And one big area of concern that I'm going to get into in great detail is an area called hostile work environment. And all of the GMs and the AGMs are familiar with this, the allegation of hostile work environment. What's the definition of a hostile work environment? Severe, pervasive, pattern and practice of misconduct directed at protected class status. Here's a thought for you. How on earth do you have a severe, pervasive pattern and practice of misconduct going on in the workplace if supervisors are behaving like supervisors? I say the same thing about CHP pursuits. Many times the policies are not being taken seriously. I wrote the policy. I know what it says, and I watch them on TV. Too many units chasing a registration violation. Too many units on motorcycles chasing violations that are not allowed by the policy. Hey, Sarge, why didn't you call it off? I don't like to second-guess my people when I'm not on scene. That's a cop-out for I lack the guts to enforce the rules. We've got to get supervisors behaving like supervisors, and you need to promote good women and men who've got the guts to be supervisors. More on that in a later video presentation. And finally, you've got to have a discipline process in place to address the buds, to address the arrogant, the ignorant, the complacent, to make sure that you're addressing these people proactively, because bud cannot survive in your high-risk job. That is executive accountability. For supervisors, their accountability is the I word. The primary mission of a supervisor in any occupation, in any profession, is systems implementation, enforcement of organizational policy, making sure people follow rules. Later on, again, I'll have a video specific on the key role of the supervisor. And I'll give you some rules for improving supervisory performance. But the primary mission of a supervisor is enforcement of organizational policy, making sure your crew, your team, your unit, your people know the policies and follow the darn things. And when it comes to line personnel, their accountability is know the policies that apply to your job and follow the darn things. Not some of the time, not most of the time, but all of the time. Know the policies. And I don't care if it's the seatbelt policy, the SCBA policy, the PPE policy, the backing policy, the workplace violence policy, the harassment policy. Know the policies and follow the darn things. Not some of the time, not most of the time, but all of the time. That is your accountability. And wrapping up with these thoughts on accountability, I talked to this all sorts of groups, I mentioned this too, every high-risk profession, including water districts. And it's a cop story. But LAPD got in a ton of trouble in the late 90s on the Rampart scandal. Google it. LAPD Rampart scandal. $150 million of civil liability, 30 cops in jail or prison getting fired, major organizational embarrassment. And after that tragedy, the lawyers got together and they did a 782-page final report. And in typical lawyer fashion, they focused on proximate cause. Oh, this is wrong with LAPD. This is wrong with LAPD. This is wrong with LAPD. One very smart guy said, you're looking at this the wrong way. Let's look for the real problem with LAPD. And he summed it up in 4 words. Mediocrity has replaced accountability. Mediocrity has replaced accountability. And you can read the quote he has there. It's brilliant. It ended up being so popular, it was on page 1 of the final report. Commander Ross Swope, DCPD, went on to explain that mediocrity stems from a failure to hold people responsible and accountable. It comes from a lack of commitment, laziness, and excessive tolerance. He said that dealing with mediocrity is the greatest challenge we face. When asked to explain how it's so dangerous, he drew the analogy of the bell curve. At the high end of the bell curve, you've got your great people with all the core values: prudence, truth, courage, justice, honesty, responsibility. At the other end of the curve, you've got the sluggos, the buds, the people with few or none of the values. In the large middle, you've got your 80%, the people with some or most of the values. Everybody in your organization knows into which of the three categories their coworkers fall. Your women and men know who the hard workers are. Your women and men know who the bud is. Hear this very clear. When people in the middle see that people at the bottom end are not being dealt with, they sometimes begin to imitate that behavior. Similarly, when those at the top end are recognized and rewarded, they become the workplace standard. And the principal, though not exclusive, people in charge of making sure that people understand this are those supervisors, those women and men who've got that daily and ongoing responsibility to assure that appropriate workplace standards are being maintained. That's a lot of very fancy words for a very simple concept: that key role of the supervisor, enforcement of organizational policy. On any given day, nobody knows where the GM is. Nobody knows where the department head is. Everybody knows who their supervisor is. And riddle me this: will some employees modify their behavior based on which supervisor is on duty? Or, as my grandmother used to say, when the cat's away, the mice will play. Supervisors enforcing policy, line personnel, your accountability is following policy. And the fifth of these 5 concurrent themes for success is integrity. Without the public trust, we have nothing. And let me give you a big hint. Public trust these days is at a very low level. Everything we do has got to be at the highest levels of ethics and integrity. There are no more secrets. The public, your customers, are demanding full transparency. So there you have it in front of you, folks, the checklist. Whatever you're doing, if the ultimate goal is let's get things done right, the 5-step approach. What's the risk involved in what we're doing? How can I best manage that risk? Step 2, what is our departmental system? How can I best assure its implementation? Enforcement of organizational policy. Step 3, is there a service opportunity here? If so, how can I maximize customer service? Step 4, who's accountable for what on this task, incident, or event? And step 5, what are the issues of integrity involved in this task, incident, event? And here's my guarantee for you, my absolute guarantee. When these 5 themes become fully inculcated into the way you do business, risk, systems, service, accountability, and integrity, things go right. And when things go right, we stay out of trouble. And the anchor for these 5 concurrent themes, and my focus in life, and my focus in this 9-video series, is the discipline of Theme 1, risk management. And please remember those 3 basic rules. There's no new ways to get in trouble. There's always a better way to stay out of trouble. And predictable is preventable. And that wraps it up for our 3rd of our 9-video series. I look forward to seeing you again. Until then, please work safely.
We thank Gordon Graham for his deliberative, comprehensive, and interlinking risk management video series. AAWD&M would also like to thank the California Association of Mutual Water Companies, Appalachian State University, and our charter members for their support in producing these videos. We welcome you to visit AAWD&M's website at www.aawdm.org for more details on the association's mission, initiatives, and services. The AAWD&M video module series is available to all public water systems, related entities, and supporting stakeholders. Utilization of any aspect of this video without the express written permission of AAWD&M is strictly prohibited. As with any presentation, the opinions associated with this subject matter are those of the speaker and not of AAWD&M, its members, or supporters. Thank you.